So hold on, don't go away if you thought, yeah, that sounds ridiculous. Like somebody just coming up and being like, hey, struggle with intrusive thoughts? Have you tried not having intrusive thoughts? I know that sounds ridiculous initially. And I say initially because that is what we're going to talk about today. But understand, so I say this as somebody who used to struggle with intrusive thoughts, like violent, graphic, disgusting intrusive thoughts. I struggled with them so much of my life that when I initially went to get help, when I initially went to get therapy, it wasn't until they gave me a stack of kind of like diagnostic quizzes that went through symptoms that I learned that was like a symptom, that was an issue, that wasn't just how brains worked. I just thought that was my brain being imaginative, that if I walked up to a crosswalk and there were a bunch of kids crossing the crosswalk and I would see them like get run over by cars and their blood and guts everywhere. I just thought that's how it was. Like I would frequently be walking around nauseous because of the things I was seeing in my head. I would be anxious. I would see terrible, violent things happening to me, happening to other people, nonstop. So, yes, I know it sounds ridiculous to say, hey, have you tried not having intrusive thoughts? I get that. Also, please stick around. I am coming from a perspective of somebody who used to really deal with frustrating, nasty, intrusive thoughts all of the time, and I do not anymore. And I'm going to share about something that was really helpful for getting to this spot. This is another video in our ongoing series of important stuff that I learned from 12, I guess 13 years of recovery now. And this is a really key one because often when we talk about recovery, and I know this question comes up a lot, people will say like, oh, okay, so I get that when I recover, the intrusive thoughts will still be there, but it's about how I interact with them. And I find it really important to understand that I don't struggle with any intrusive thoughts anymore. And this is a key part, I would say, of working on recovery. It helps so much to get rid of intrusive thoughts. And that, I don't mean like we're gonna have a video here now on like, 25 tips on how to get rid of intrusive thoughts. No. Like the tip is get rid of intrusive thoughts. Yeah. So have you ever heard somebody else talk about their intrusive thoughts and you heard that and went, damn, I wish I had intrusive thoughts like those, because I wouldn't care if I had intrusive thoughts about that topic happening in my head all the time. I've got this problem. I've got these types of intrusive thoughts and I hate them. They make my life miserable. I wish I had those. If you've ever had an experience like that, you just learned something incredibly important about intrusive thoughts. Intrusive thoughts are about stuff in our heads, because it might not just be what we'd call thoughts. They might be memories, they might be images, they might be feelings, right? Like think about like depersonalization, derealization, where we're just like, I hate this feeling, I've got to get rid of it. There're gonna be some brain stuff that you dislike, that you judge as bad, that you judge as an intruder. Right? Intrusive thoughts are thoughts we judge as intruding into our mind. It's so useful to recognize that labeling them as intrusive, that labeling them as an intruder that shouldn't be there, that's something we do. The brain is just throwing up stuff. It's just doing its job. It's just an organ that makes brain stuff. It makes thoughts and images and feelings and all of that. It's not bothering us. That stuff that comes up in there, we're bothering it. A police car was just going by. When I struggled with intrusive thoughts and I heard a police car back in the day, I was always convinced that I had done something. I had done something terrible, that one of these terrible things that I was always thinking about, it was real, they were coming to arrest me, that was it. a whole lot of people, probably a whole lot of people in that building right there, they had that exact same thought when they heard that siren right now. It's a pretty common thing to think. All right, let me give you an example of what I mean when I say we're bothering the thoughts. So let's say an image of an alligator pops up in my head, and I believe you shouldn't think about alligators. Like it's bad to think about alligators. And I started wondering, well, what's that mean about me if I was thinking about alligators? Because actually I think when that image popped up, I was really focused on its teeth. Like its teeth, they looked really sharp, and I thought, wow, like those could really rip people apart. What's that mean about me? Am I a murderer? But also I thought, wow, like that's a really big, handsome mouth on that alligator. Like, does that mean I'm attracted to alligators? Like, what does this mean? I don't want to have that thought. And then I'm thinking back to when I had that thought and like checking, like, how did I feel about that? Did I feel sufficiently disgusted with alligators? Like, they shouldn't eat people. But even, why is my brain thinking about that at all? What's that mean about my brain? Is my brain damaged? What if these thoughts about alligators get stuck in there? And I just keep having them again and again and again. I hope this doesn't get stuck. How do I make sure it doesn't get stuck? And so on. You see how this can just go on and on and on and on. All of that is compulsions from the moment the thought pops up and I go, oh, like, ooh, what's that mean? That shouldn't be there. All of that judging, all of that attaching stuff to it, all of that labeling it as an intruder, 100% compulsions. I'm the one bothering the thought. The thought was just there. The alligator was just sitting there. The thing is, there's nothing wrong with having thoughts about alligators. There's no disorder in having thoughts about alligators or anything. That's completely fine. The problems arise from us going, ooh, this shouldn't be here. I need to fix it, and setting a goal of fixing it. That goal is just like any contamination compulsion, because essentially that's what we're doing with intrusive thoughts. It's not actually different from any kind of contamination compulsion. We're saying this thought is a contamination. It shouldn't be here. I've got to prevent it from being here, and I got to clean it away. The moment we take an approach like that, it guarantees the brain is going to keep giving it to you. Right? Because if you want to be successful by cleaning away thoughts, the brain is just going to keep giving you more and more thoughts so you can succeed at getting that solution fix that you're craving. If we have thoughts about alligators or whatever thing you are afraid of, like the donut shop being out of donuts, right? Something that is objectively, we can all agree that's the worst thing possible. So say you have that thought about that thing, what's a more useful way to handle it? It's not judging it as a problem. It's not making it an intruder. The brain is just doing what the brain does. It's just making stuff, and it's going to make stuff to see what you react to. And whatever you react to and go, oh, this is a problem, I want to fix it, it's going to give you more of so that you can fix it. So whatever thoughts or feelings, images, memories, etc., that you bother, that's what it's going to create more of. So this is why it's useful to actually not have intrusive thoughts. And not just getting upset about a statement like that. I understand why it sounds upsetting, but actually looking at what does that mean to not have intrusive thoughts? Starting to consider what would it take to not be constantly judging and hating on and wanting to control experiences in my head and a lot of experiences in our bodies too. We can have experiences. We can hear a motorbike drive by. We can see a bird fly overhead. We can hear a kid screaming in the pool. We can see terrible images of like my pen getting jabbed through my eyeball. That was one of my brain's favorites. We can have these experiences and they can be there. And they're not us. Having a thought of an alligator or a pen stabbing is something we experience. The same as we experience sounds, the same as we experience physical sensations, same as we experience smells or tastes. They're experiences. So we don't have to attach meaning to them. They're just there. Just like if I hear a motorbike drive by right now, it doesn't mean I'm a motorbike. That's a thing I'm experiencing. If I see an image in my head of an alligator ripping off somebody's leg, that doesn't mean I'm an alligator that rips off people's legs. That's just an experience. And yeah, maybe I say, look, my brain sucks. It's always throwing up stuff. Yeah, you know what? It's an organ. Lots of our organs do weird things. We might eat something and our stomach is throwing up lots of stuff we don't like. All right, it's an organ. It's just doing a thing. It's just trying to digest a world that's really difficult to digest. So next time you hear about somebody's intrusive thoughts and you notice that you don't judge that as a bad thing, you hear about something somebody's anxious about and you're like, oh, what's the big deal? Understand that you can take the same approach to the stuff in your head that gets you upset. You can allow it to be there. It can be there, and you can live your life. And when we show the brain that we don't have to judge stuff up there, we don't have to control it, you'll find that the brain stops throwing it up. Which, I've got to say, as somebody who used to see themselves stabbing themselves in the eyeball with a pen all the time, and as somebody who likes pens, this is a great Muji pen right here. As somebody who likes pens, I gotta say, it's really nice being able to hold a pen again and not seeing it stick out of my eyeball. So yeah, don't have intrusive thoughts.